Rian stood in the center of the alien courtroom, his wrists locked in heavy metal cuffs. Cold blue lights shone down on him, making his human skin look pale and weak. Around him, rows of alien judges stared with sharp silver eyes. They did not blink. They did not breathe loudly. They only watched him like he was already guilty. Rian felt the weight of their silence, a silence that sounded more dangerous than any loud voice. He tried to speak, but the guards pushed him down. On his knees, the head judge finally rose from her seat. Her long robe floated behind her like smoke. She lifted a glowing staff and pointed it at him. "Human soldier Rian," she said, "you are accused of breaking the sacred treaty. You are sentenced to exile on the frozen moon Vornar 7. There, you will live alone until death." Rian's heart dropped. Vornar 7 was a dead world. No farms, no shelters, no allies. Only storms, ice, and monsters that hunted anything warm. No human had ever survived more than a week there. He wanted to scream that he was innocent, but the judges had already made their decision long before he arrived. The guards dragged him out of the courtroom, down the long metal corridor, and toward a transport ship. As the doors closed behind him, he looked back one last time, hoping anyone would speak for him. But there was no one. He had no friends left in this empire. The ship blasted off, taking him far from the stars he once protected. Rian sat alone in the dark cell of the transport ship. He remembered the mission that ruined his life. He had stopped an attack near the border, but someone twisted the story. Someone powerful wanted him gone. He did not know the full truth yet, but he knew he had been betrayed. After hours of travel, the ship landed. The guards pushed him outside and removed his cuffs. The moment they shut the doors and flew away, the storm of the frozen moon hit him like a punch. Ice wind cut his face. Snow hit his eyes. His breath turned white and heavy. He could barely see more than a few steps ahead. He wrapped his arms around himself and tried to move. Every direction looked the same, white, dark, endless. The ground cracked under his boots. Strange animal tracks crossed his path. Something was out here, watching him. Something big. He kept walking until night fell. The temperature dropped even lower. Rian felt his fingers going numb. His vision blurred. If he did not find shelter soon, he would freeze. The storm howled louder, as if calling his name. His legs collapsed under him, and he fell into the snow. Then he heard it. A voice, soft, weak, crying, "Help, please." Rian forced himself to lift his head. He could not tell if the voice was real or just the wind playing tricks on him. But the sound came again, clearer this time. "Please, someone." He pushed himself up and stumbled toward the sound. Each step felt like he was dragging heavy stones, but he kept going. The voice grew louder, more desperate. He followed it across the frozen plain and stopped when he saw something glowing behind a broken ice ridge. There, lying half buried in snow, was a young alien woman with royal markings on her skin. Her clothes were torn. Her breathing was slow and shallow. She looked like she had been attacked and left to die. Rian's eyes widened. He recognized her face from the Empire banners. She was a princess alone on a deadly moon. Something was terribly wrong. He looked around the area. There were no guards, no escort, no crashed ship, not even footprints leading to her. It was as if she simply appeared here out of nowhere. Rian crouched beside her. "Princess, can you hear me?" Her eyes opened for a moment, glowing faint gold. She stared at him with confusion and fear. "Don't leave," she whispered. "Don't leave me alone." Before he could ask anything, shadows moved behind him. Large shapes, tall shapes, creatures smelling warm blood. The storm was not the only danger tonight. Rian realized something important in that moment. He was supposed to die alone on this moon, but now He was no longer alone, not anymore. And whoever abandoned a princess here would not stop until she was found, or until both of them were dead. Rian felt the shadows behind him grow taller, stretching across the snow like long black hands. The creatures of Vornar 7 were known for hunting weakness, and the princess lying in the snow was the weakest thing in the storm. Rian had only two choices: leave her and run, or pick her up and face the danger with her in his arms. And he already knew he could not leave her. He lifted the princess gently. She was much lighter than he expected, her body cold from the storm. Her head fell against his shoulder. Her breathing was shallow and fragile, like thin glass ready to break. Rian tightened his arms around her and began to move, forcing his numb legs to run through the snow behind him. The creatures roared. There. Voices echoed across the frozen plain, shaking the air. He did not look back. He knew looking back would only slow him down. He needed shelter, anything that could hide their heat signatures from the hunters. A thin blue light shimmered in the distance. A cave, or maybe an old mining tunnel. Rian pushed toward it, slipping on ice, sliding, stumbling, but never stopping. With every step, the princess woke a little more. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened halfway. When she saw his face, she panicked. "Let me go!" She cried, her voice weak but sharp with fear. Rian tightened his grip to keep her from falling. "You'll die if I drop you. Stay still." But the princess did not listen. She reached inside her torn clothes and pulled out a small silver blade. It was tiny, but sharp enough to cut through human skin. She slashed at him, missing his face. "By inches, stop it," Rian shouted. "I'm trying to save you." "You captured me," she screamed. "Humans always want something." Rian gritted his teeth. He wanted to argue, but there was no time. The hunters were getting closer. Their claws cracked through the ice, their roars shaking loose snow from the cliffs. Rian ducked into the glowing cave just as a massive creature leaped behind him, smashing into the ice where he had been. Inside the cave, the light came from crystals that pulsed softly like breathing. The air was warmer here but still dangerous. Rian set the princess down for a moment to block the entrance with fallen rocks. The princess crawled backward, her eyes never leaving him. She still held the blade in her hand, even though her arm was shaking from weakness. "If you plan to ransom me," she whispered, "you will fail. My father will kill you." Rian raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. "Listen, I don't want money. I don't want power. I don't even want you. I just didn't want you eaten out there." She looked at him with confusion. That answer did not fit any story she had been told about humans, but her distrust returned quickly. "Then untie me," she demanded. Rian sighed. She had attacked him once already. If she stabbed him again, he might not survive. He walked toward her slowly, like someone approaching a frightened animal, but she misread his movement. She lunged at him. Rian reacted fast. He grabbed her wrists and twisted the silver blade away from her hand. She fought, weak but stubborn. Her fear made her strike wildly, hitting his chest and shoulders. "I'm not your enemy," he shouted. She didn't stop. She didn't believe him. To keep her from hurting herself, he pinned her wrists together and tied them with a survival strap from his belt. She gasped in shock, staring at him with wide golden eyes. You captured me," she breathed. Rian looked away, frustrated. "I had no choice. You won't stop fighting. And if you walk out there alone, those creatures will tear you apart in seconds." For a moment, the princess said nothing. Only the soft pulse of the glowing crystals filled the cave. Her breathing slowed. Some understanding passed across her. "Face but not trust. You should let me die," she muttered quietly. "It would save you from the Empire." Rian frowned. "Why would the Empire come after me?" She hesitated before answering. "Because I am missing. They will send the royal hunters if they find me with a human exile." They will kill you first." Rian froze. Outside the cave, the ground shook from heavy footsteps bigger, heavier than the creatures. The princess looked toward the noise. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They've already found us." Rian's heart raced. He had wanted to avoid trouble on this moon. Now he was holding the most dangerous person he could possibly save. And letting her go was even more dangerous. She was the only one who knew how to survive here, and he was the only one keeping her alive. The cave trembled again as something heavy moved outside. Snow slid down from the entrance, and small rocks dropped from the ceiling. Rian tightened his grip on the survival knife he had taken from the princess. He could not see the hunters yet, but he could feel them. Their steps were too slow, too controlled, too intelligent to belong to wild creatures. These were trained killers. Royal hunters. The princess looked toward the entrance, fear flashing in her golden eyes. "They are close," she whispered. "They track heat, sound, and scent. They never miss." Rian studied her. "If they want you back, why attack first? And ask later?" She lowered her head. "Because they expected me dead already." Something twisted in Rian's stomach. She was royalty, yet someone had wanted her gone. He did not know why, but he could see the truth in her trembling hands. He checked her bindings. Her wrists were still tied from their struggle earlier. She watched him with a mixture of anger and exhaustion. "Are you going to keep me tied forever?" "Only until you stop trying to stab me," he said. She glared. "You kidnapped me." "I saved you," he corrected firmly. "There is a difference." The princess opened her mouth to argue but closed it again. She realized he had a point. Without him, the creatures outside would have taken her easily. And even though she feared him, he had not hurt her. Rian needed information. He needed to know why the hunters were here. "Tell me why you were alone." "On this moon," he said. She hesitated. A princess revealing her secrets to a human exile? It went against everything she had been taught. But the sound of the hunter's claws scraping ice outside pushed her to speak. "I escaped," she whispered. "I ran from my own palace, from my own father." Rian blinked. A princess running away? "Why?" She took a shaky breath. "Because I refused a marriage he forced on me, a political alliance. I wanted freedom, not a cage." Now things made sense. She wasn't just missing, she was a fugitive. And the Empire would do anything to hide that shame from other worlds. Before Rian could ask more, a loud roar echoed through the tunnel. The crystals on the walls flickered. A cold rush of air swept over them. The hunters were entering the cave. Rian moved to block the princess, his body acting before thought. "Stay behind me." She stared at him in disbelief. "Why do you protect me? You owe me nothing." He didn't look at her. "No one deserves to die alone." The words struck her deeply. She had heard many things in her life: orders, praise, fear, but never simple kindness from a stranger. The hunters appeared at the mouth of the cave. They were tall, wearing dark armor shaped like bone. Their helmets were smooth and featureless, except for glowing red eyes scanning the air. One of them raised a staff that hummed with energy. Rian grabbed the princess's arm and pulled her deeper into the tunnel. "Move." They ran through twisting pathways lit by blue crystals. The princess stumbled because her feet were frozen and weak, so Rian supported most of her weight. Behind them, the hunters' footsteps echoed like thunder. "They know these caves," the princess said. "They trained here. We won't outrun them." Rian spotted a narrow passage ahead, barely wide enough for one person. "We don't need to outrun them," he said. "We need to hide." He dragged her into the tight space just seconds before. The hunters entered the larger chamber behind them. Their red eyes swept across the walls, searching for heat. Rian pressed the princess close, wrapping his arm around her to keep her warm but silent. She felt his heart beating fast, but steady, strong, reliable, very unlike the guards at her palace who fought for orders, not for people. The hunters walked, passed, unaware of the small passage behind the crystal wall. Rian and the princess did not move. They barely breathed. After a long, tense moment, the footsteps faded. Rian exhaled softly. "We need to move before they come back." The princess looked up at him. "You risked your life for me again," he shrugged. "I'm already sentenced to die. Saving someone makes the day less terrible." For the first time, she gave a small, tired smile. Rian untied her wrists slowly. "No more stabbing?" She shook her head. "No more stabbing." They stepped out of the hiding place together. For the first time, they were not captor and captive. They were two people forced to trust each other to survive. Outside, the storm still raged, and the hunters were still searching. But now Rian and the princess moved together, their fates tied tighter with every step. This was the beginning of a fragile alliance, one that could save both of them or destroy them. The storm outside the caves had grown even stronger, turning the sky into a swirling wall of white. Rian and the princess stepped out carefully, breathing the cold air as their eyes adjusted to the open space. The snow fell so fast it felt like the sky was collapsing. But even through the storm, Rian sensed something was wrong, different. Ground vibrated, not like footsteps, not like creatures. This was heavier, deeper, mechanical. The princess felt it too. Her golden eyes widened. "No, not them, not now." Rian scanned the sky, his breath turning to frost. At first he saw nothing but clouds. Then a dark shape pushed through the storm. A massive ship, silver and sharp like a blade, descending slowly with glowing blue thrusters. More shapes appeared behind it. 3, 5 ships, each marked with the royal symbol. Rian's stomach twisted. "Your empire came for you." "No," she whispered. "They came to erase me. And anyone with me." The ships hovered above the moon, casting huge shadows across the ice. Searchlights swept across the land, burning through the storm like long white spears. Rian grabbed the princess's hand and pulled her toward the rocky cliffside. "This way!" They ran, slipping on frozen ground. The sound of engines roared above them, mixing with the storm. As they reached shelter behind a jagged wall of ice, a loud voice echoed from the ships, metallic and motionless, amplified by speakers. "Princess Alara, you are ordered to surrender. Your escape violates imperial law. All unauthorized humans in contact with you will be executed." Alara flinched at the cold tone. "They don't want me alive," she whispered. "They want the Empire to think I died." Rian stared at her, shocked. "Your own father would let them do this?" She looked away, pain heavy in her voice. "He believes I embarrassed the royal family. He cares about power more than blood." Rian clenched his jaw. He had seen leaders like that, leaders who hid their cruelty behind laws. The ships dropped smaller craft, sleek black pods that slammed into the ground and unfolded into armored soldiers. Their helmets glowed red, scanning for heat and movement. Rian and Alara crouched low. "We can't stay out here," Rian said. "We need cover." Alara pointed to a distant structure half buried under snow. "There, a crashed escape pod. It may still have heat shields." Rian lifted her. She was still weak and sprinted toward the pod while the soldiers advanced. Snow exploded around them as a drone spotted their movement and fired a warning blast. Rian threw himself forward, shielding Alara from the shockwave. They reached the pod and slid inside just as more drones flew overhead. The interior smelled of burnt metal and melted wires, but the heat signature dampeners still hummed faintly. Alara leaned back, her breathing fast. "Rian, you should leave." "Me," he shook his head. "Not happening." "You don't understand," she said urgently. "They will kill you first. Humans are seen as lower, disposable." His voice remained calm. "I know. That's why I'm not letting them find us." She stared at him, really stared. He was in exile, a man sentenced to die alone. Yet here, he was risking everything for someone he had met only hours ago. Someone who came from a world that looked down on his kind. The ship above them opened its lower hatch. A new wave of soldiers descended, carrying devices that scanned deeper than usual. Their tools could detect even faint warmth through walls. Alara swallowed hard. They will find us soon. Rian examined the pod. Most systems were dead, but he found an emergency panel with cracked screens. He pressed buttons until the faint blue light flickered. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Trying to activate the blackout shield," Rian said. "It hides all energy signatures. If I can get it working, they won't see us." He worked fast, rewiring cables with frozen fingers. Sparks jumped. The ship's scanners swept. Closer. Alara's eyes darted between the entrance and Rian's hands. "Rian," she said softly, "why are you helping me?" "I'm the reason you're in danger." He didn't look up. "I help people who need help. It's who I am. Exile didn't change that." For a moment, Alara forgot the danger outside. No one in the Empire had ever shown her this kind of honesty. A loud metallic beep echoed outside. A soldier shouted. "Heat signature detected small, moving inside wreckage." Alara grabbed Rian's arm. "They found us." Rian slammed his fist into the final switch. The blackout shield burst to life, covering the pod in a shimmering wave. The scanners outside flickered and lost the signal. The soldier cursed. "False reading. Moving to next point." Footsteps faded into the storm. Alara let out a shaking breath. "You saved me again." Rian leaned against the wall, exhausted. "We're not safe yet. They're searching the entire moon." Alara met his eyes, her voice soft and honest for the first time. "Rian, I trust you." Above them, the Empire ships thundered across the sky, and the hunt continued. The blackout shield hummed softly around the wrecked escape pod, hiding Rian and Alara from the scanners outside. For a few moments there was silence, only the storm whispering against the metal walls. Rian used that quiet moment to check the princess's condition. Her lips were pale, her fingers shaking from cold and fear. "We can't stay here long," Rian said. "The shield will drain fast. Once it dies, they'll pick us up like a signal flare." Alara nodded weakly. "I know, but where do we go? They control the sky. They control the ground. They control everything." "Not everything," Rian said. "There's one place they won't expect us to go." She looked at him, confused. "Where?" He pointed toward the dark horizon. "There's an old human bunker. I used to train there during peace missions. The Empire closed it years ago, but it's still standing." Her eyes widened. "My father said humans were never allowed to build anything on our moons." Rian's jaw tightened. "Your father says many things." Alara studied him, slowly understanding that everything she knew about humans, what she had been taught since childhood, might have been lies. Before she could respond, the ground shook again. The shield flickered. A loud, heavy noise echoed. Above them, something large landing near the pod. Alara froze. "That sound, it's not soldiers." Rian crawled to the edge of the pod and peeked outside. The storm swirled violently, but through the snow he could see a tall figure stepping out of a black transport pod. This one was different, bigger, stronger, wearing armor lined with glowing blue veins. It moved with confidence, not caution. Alara's face turned pale. "That is the Royal Executor, my father's personal hunter." Rian frowned. "Executor? Like a judge?" "No," she whispered. "Like a weapon. He follows only one order. Erase threats." Rian felt the weight of those words. If the Executor found them, they would not get a second chance. "We move now," Rian said. "Quiet and fast." He helped Alara stand, keeping her close as they exited through the back of the wreckage. They slid down a slope of loose snow, moving low so the soldiers above wouldn't spot them. Every crunch of ice under their boots felt too loud, too risky. As they walked, Alara struggled to keep up. Her body trembled, but her mind was racing. "Rian, there's something you must know." "Tell me once we're safe," he said. "No," she insisted softly. "It will change everything." He slowed down. Alara swallowed hard. "Your exile, it wasn't a mistake. My father ordered it." Rian stopped completely. She continued, voice shaking. "He said you refused to support a new law. A law that allowed the Empire to take human colonies for security reasons. You stood against him, so he removed you." Rian clenched his fist. The betrayal he felt earlier now burned hotter, sharper. So this wasn't justice, it was politics. "Yes," Alara whispered, "and I was part of that system. I was taught humans were dangerous, lesser, untrustworthy." Rian continued walking, but his steps were heavier. "You still think that?" She shook her head quickly. "No, not anymore. You protected me when no one else would." They reached a ridge overlooking a narrow valley. Through the storm, they could see the faint outline of the old bunker. It was cracked and half buried in snow, but still standing like a forgotten memory. "That's it," Rian said. "If we reach it, we might last long enough to think of a plan." But as they moved down the slope, a sudden blast of energy lit the sky. A beam of blue plasma carved the snow beside them, almost hitting Rian's leg. He grabbed Alara and rolled behind a rock. The executor stood on the ridge they had just crossed, his armor glowing brighter now. His voice, deep and cold, echoed across the valley. "Princess Alara," he called, "you have brought shame to the Empire. You will return, or you will be cleansed." Alara's hands shook. Rian studied her face. She was terrified, but not for herself. She kept looking at him, as if his death mattered more than her own capture. Rian whispered, "We run on my mark." Before she could answer, another plasma shot hit the snow, sending ice flying around. "Them," Rian grabbed her hand. "Mark!" They sprinted down the valley, the executor firing again and again. Their boots slipped, their breath burned, but they kept going. The bunker grew closer with every step. The executor's shots tore through the ground, trying to cut off their path. Rian pushed Alara forward. "Go! Don't stop!" She stumbled but kept running. The bunker door was now only a few meters away. One last blast hit the ground behind them, throwing Rian forward. He rolled in the snow, gasping, but forced himself up. Alara reached the bunker door and turned back. "Rian, hurry!" Rian ran with everything he had left. Snow, fire, and fear chased him as he leaped inside. Alara slammed the heavy door shut. Just as a plasma bolt hit it, shaking the entire bunker, Rian collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Alara dropped beside him, eyes full of relief and fear mixed together. "You saved me again," she whispered. Rian didn't smile. "We're alive, but not safe." Outside, the executor stood in the storm, the glow of his armor lighting the dark sky, and he would not stop. Asterisk inside the bunker. Darkness pressed around Rian and Alara like a second storm. The metal walls were cracked and rusted, the old lights long dead. Only the faint glow from drifting ice crystals gave the room any shape. Rian listened for footsteps, for soldiers, for the executor's heavy armor, but all he heard was the howling wind outside. Alara placed her hand on the cold floor. "This place, it feels empty, abandoned." "It was abandoned," Rian said. "The Empire shut it down after the treaty. But it still has something we need." "What is that?" Rian pointed to a dusty console at the far end of the room. "A long-range signal tower. If I can power it, I can send a message to a human ship." Alara's eyes widened. "A human rescue team? Will they come for an exile?" Rian shrugged. "Maybe not for me, but for you." "Yes, they would want to know." A princess is being hunted by her own empire. Alara lowered her head. If you send that message, the empire will blame you. They already blamed me, Rian said softly. They already took everything. Alara stared at him, realizing how much he had lost. Not just freedom, but honor, purpose, trust, and a life he once believed in. Rian knelt beside the console, brushing away dust and ice. The panel flickered weakly. There might still be power in the core. If I reroute it, I can activate the tower. While he worked, Alara checked the bunker entrance. The metal door shook every few seconds, not from the storm, but from something hitting it. Slowly, methodically, the executor is testing the door, she whispered. He will break through. Rian didn't stop working. Then we finish before he does. Alara watched him fight with tangled wires and dead circuits. His hands were trembling from cold, yet he worked with focus and stubborn determination. She had seen soldiers trained from birth, but none like him, someone who fought because he cared, not because he was ordered. The console sparked. Alara jumped back. Is that normal? She asked. Rian smiled faintly. For me, yes. The lights flickered brighter. A hum filled the bunker. Alara could feel the vibration in the ground. You did it, she whispered. Not yet, Rian said. We still have to send the signal. He typed quickly, entering an old emergency code. The tower outside groaned as its long antenna rose. Through the snow, its metal scraping against ice. But the moment it powered up, the door slammed harder. Boom. Ao stepped back, fear tightening her breath. He knows. He sensed the energy spike. Rian hit the final button. Signal is going out. A sharp alarm rang from the console. Alara covered her ears as a blue pulse shot into the sky, piercing the storm clouds. Rian exhaled in relief. A human patrol might pick that up. Alara's voice trembled. How long will it take? Minutes. If we're lucky. Boom. The door bent inward. Alara grabbed Rian's arm. We have to hide. No, he said. We stand and slow him down. If we run, he will break through faster. Alara hesitated, then nodded. Together. The door burst open. The executor stepped inside, tall and terrifying, glowing armor lighting the bunker like a nightmare. His voice was cold. You should not have run, princess. You should not have trusted a human. Alara stepped in front of Rian, surprising even herself. He saved me, more than once. The executor tilted his head. He influenced you. Humans are skilled at manipulation. Rian raised his knife, though it looked small against the giant. She has a choice. That scares you, doesn't it? The executor charged. Rian grabbed Alara and dove behind an overturned table as plasma fire blasted. The wall. The bunker shook, dust raining down. Alara clung to Rian's arm, her heart racing. He will kill you. She cried. Not if I make him miss, Rian said. The executor lifted a heavy metal beam and threw it. Rian pushed Alara aside as it crashed. Where they had stood, Alara crawled to another corner. Rian, you can't beat him. I don't need to, Rian said, gripping a loose cable with sparks flying around it. I just need to slow him. The executor stepped toward him. Rian pressed the sparking cable to a pool of melted ice on the floor. Electricity shot across the bunker. The executor staggered as blue lightning danced across his armor. Alara gasped. Rian fell back, breathless, as smoke filled the room. The executor's armor flickered, but he still stood angry now. Wounded but not defeated. His red eyes glowed brighter. You delay the inevitable, he growled, but before he could strike again, a thunderous sound shook the air, far louder than the executor. Alara looked up in disbelief. A ship, a human ship, breaking through the clouds like a burning star. They heard your signal, she whispered. Rian smiled through exhaustion. Good. The executor stepped back. raising his weapon, but the rescue had already begun. The roar of the human ship filled the frozen sky like thunder. Its bright engines cut through the storm, lighting the bunker ruins with warm gold fire. Snow blew in every direction, swirling around the massive shadow descending toward the moon's surface. For a moment, even the executor paused, staring upward with cold calculation. Rian pushed himself to his feet, breathing hard. Alira grabbed his arm, her eyes wide with hope and fear. "Your people came. They actually came." Rian managed a tired smile. Humans don't ignore distress calls, not even from an exile. The executor's voice echoed across the bunker. "The humans will not save you. This moon is under imperial law." Rian stepped forward, placing himself between the executor and Alira. "Not anymore." The human ship fired a warning blast at the ground, sending a wave of heat across the snow. The executor staggered but remained standing, his armor glowing brighter. Charging for attack, Alira whispered urgently, "He will kill us before they land." Rian nodded. "Then we don't wait." He grabbed a bent metal rod from the floor, the only weapon left. Alira reached for him, afraid. Rian, no. But he had already moved. The executor charged with a roar that shook the bunker, energy vibrating around his armored fists. Rian dodged the first strike, the ground cracking where the blow landed. He swung the metal rod at the executor's side, hitting a weak spot and sending sparks flying. The executor barely reacted. He grabbed Rian by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Alira screamed, "Stop, he saved me." "He saved your princess." The executor turned his head toward her. "A princess who betrays her throne is no princess." He squeezed tighter. Rian struggled to breathe, his vision blurring. The metal rod fell from his hand. Alira rushed forward without thinking, grabbing a piece of broken crystal and striking the executor's arm. The blow barely marked the armor, but it distracted him long enough for Rian to kick free and collapse onto the floor. Executor raised his arm to strike Alira next, but a sudden blast from above hit him square in the chest. Human soldier landed between Alira and the executor. A glowing shield on his arm. "Stand down, hostile unit." The executor roared in anger and charged again. More human soldiers dropped from the ship, surrounding him with shock cannons and energy fields. Rian coughed and crawled toward Alira. She helped him sit up, her hands shaking. "Rian, stay with me, please." Human soldiers shouted commands. Bright lights flashed. The executor fought like a wild storm, but even he could not stand alone against an entire squad. After a final loud crash, he fell to one knee, sparks dancing across his damaged armor. The soldiers activated a containment field, trapping him in glowing blue light. The battle was over. Alira exhaled in disbelief. We lived." Rian leaned against her shoulder, exhausted but smiling weakly. "Told you we'd make it." "Human." Medics rushed over. One of them knelt beside Rian. "We received your emergency signal." But Rian looked at Alira instead of the medic. "Is she safe?" Alira blinked, surprised. "Rian, you care about me more than your own life." He shrugged softly. "You never treated me like an exile." Human soldiers surrounded them, guiding them toward the ship. Snow fell gently now, no longer violent. The storm felt like it was finally calming down inside the ship's warm interior. Alira sat close to Rian while medics treated his injuries. Human commander approached them. "We will escort both of you off this moon, but we need a statement from the princess herself." Alira stood tall, gathering courage. "I will speak the truth. Rian is innocent. My father used his power to punish him because he refused a cruel law. I will testify." The commander nodded respectfully. "Your words will carry great weight." Rian looked at her with quiet surprise. "You don't have to do that." Alara smiled a real warm smile he had never seen before. Yes, I do. You fought for me when no one else did. Now I will fight for you. The human ship lifted off, leaving the frozen moon behind. Alara watched the planet grow smaller in the window. What will happen to your exile now? She asked softly. Rian shrugged. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Alara touched his hand gently. Whatever happens, I want to stay with you. Not as a princess, not as a fugitive, but as someone who survived because of you. Rian turned to her, surprised and moved. Are you sure? She squeezed his hand. Yes, because you never saw me as a title. You saw me as a person. The ship surged into open space, stars shining ahead like new beginnings. Rian smiled faintly. Then maybe exile wasn't the end of my story. Alara leaned her head on his shoulder. No, she whispered. It was only the beginning. The stars stretched out before them, and their new destiny started with hope and each other.